So this poem is called How the Women in My Family Dance, in 4 parts. Part 1. Imagine rows of corn, their long green leaves swaying to the rhythm of wind. Imagine the sound they make when crushing upon each other like tired waves, relieved to find a resting place. Imagine all the birds chirping, the crickets at night, a well-orchestrated symphony that all of us know, that all of us enjoy. That calmness, that safety. That's how I felt watching my great-grandmother dance. She was a temple with swift legs, a good harvest season, rain when it was most needed. She would lift her skirt past her knees, and when the drums and trumpets sounded, her feet would stomp the floor, one after the other, hitting the ground as if proclaiming, "This is my land, this has always been my land, and this is how you dance." Her eyes, fixated on the ritual, the feather-like movements of her arms. They are the same arms she used to hold herself up as a single mother in the 1950s Mexican dusty town. The same hands she used to till the land, to cook for an army of campesinos 3 times a day, 7 days a week. The same hands she used to raise grandchildren and great-grandchildren like me. Those hands would eventually show me how necessary it is to hold on to the things that we cannot live without. So when the arthritis hit, she did not complain about it locking her knuckles, unable to make tortillas or cook. She complained because it kept her from dancing. Everybody would watch and say, "Look, Esperanza is dancing, look." And she knew. And she showed off and she laughed, and the closest I ever got to see her cry was when she was dancing. So when she died, I like to believe that the hundreds of people who flocked into her tiny home from neighboring mountain towns to pay their last respects to her were really trying to catch one last glimpse of her dance, and the candle surrounding her deathbed upon which she laid was the fire that would light her new shimmy, and those in attendance did not want to miss it. Part 2. My grandmother's dance is a slow rumble, slowly picking up speed with every twist, every strum of the guitar getting louder and louder. She is patient with her steps, so deliberate, so quiet, like she will only be loud when necessary. She is not as flamboyant as her mother. She doesn't stomp when she dances. She doesn't yell or swing her arms out of control. I like how my grandmother dances. She doesn't have to be exuberant. We know, and she knows, that there is so much power in tranquility, in being cautious with your steps. She usually cries when she dances, and I can never tell if her tears are of joy or of sorrow. My grandmother doesn't like the attention when she dances. Instead, she invites everybody to dance. She wants to camouflage herself into other dancing bodies, and we will dance and chant and laugh loudly amidst all of this. My grandmother will slip out of the crowd and sit back watching what she has created. I mean this in its entirety. Poetry aside, I don't pray much. I don't believe in God. But seeing the grace of her dance, I know there is something bigger than me. She has seen it. I know she has. So when she extends her hand for me to dance with her, I take it. I ask her to spin me. I ask her to take me to where there's higher being as I ask her to spin me, to twist, bend, dip, and throw me up in the air like rice on a wedding day, and she laughs, asks me what I'm talking about, calls me crazy, and she hugs me, and I feel her tears land on my neck, and in that moment is when I realize that she is the higher being that I believe in. Part 3. My mother was dancing so hard one time that she fell. Her feet couldn't keep up with her happiness, so they asked her to slow down the best way that they know how, by tripping her. She dances like my great-grandmother, with the urgency of a revolt waiting at the brim of her feet. She dances with the same audacity she had when she crossed the border, like nothing will get in her way to get where she is going. Ask El Rio Grande if she ever let any wall get in her way. She is an immaculate sight dancing. She is an alchemist, turning any floor she dances on into her new home. When my mother dances, her feet land so hard on the floor that I know my great-grandmother is somewhere in the ground, rattling the bottom of her casket with her feet, praising, "That is the girl that I raised." When my mother dances, she is a full-body mantra, too joyous for her tongue to be silent. She opens up her mouth, points it towards the heaven, opens up her arms, inviting the musicians to play faster, and she yells, and she laughs, and she yells again, tucks her hair behind her ear, bites her lip, and blesses the ground with her presence. My mother has worked and toiled since she was a kid. She hasn't had very many days off, except for the day after my cousin's quinceañera. She woke up and complained in pain. She said, "My feet, they hurt from dancing. I will rest today." And she sat in a chair, ice water in a cup, sipping and laughing about the night before and saying that it was such a shame that La Banda had to stop playing at 3 a.m. The happiest I have ever seen my mother was that moment when she got up after she fell. She dusted herself, laughed, grabbed one of her friends by her arm, and without missing a beat, she continued dancing. Part 4. There is something about the women in my family and how they dance, how careless they are, how purposeful they are, how they look like a paintbrush stroking space and painting the room with laughter. There is something about the women in my family and how they dance, how it seems that if they danced a bit longer, a bit faster, swayed their hips a bit wider, they would unleash the revolution we so much romanticize and need. There is something about the women in my family and how they dance, of how they can take our narrative and give it new meaning. Like when they dance, we are not all tragedy. We are not all death and murder. Like we do not have to bury caskets stuffed with our bodies and pretend they are seeds anymore. When they dance, we remember we are not just survival. We are an open border of untamed brown joy. Like despite all the odds against us, we still laugh. We still celebrate, for what is life without laughter? Why continue to fight if we do not celebrate our victories? Like every day we wake up is a gift. Like every word that I write is a musical note. Like we are all sitting in the back of a room. The floor is open and the women in our lives are center stage and they are dancing and we are asking them to spin us, to twist us, to throw us up in the air like rice on the wedding day, to take us to where this higher being is, all while chanting, "Baila mama, baila," and when they extend their hand out to us, we take it and we dance.